Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Did we go live now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Ma'am.
give me a moment. Let more of your friends join in. Okay, so hello everyone. A very warm welcome to all you young environmentalists joining us today. I'm Anubhuti and I'm very excited to have you here for this special masterclass on bugs and bugbears, an introduction to bacteria, antibiotics, and antimicrobial resistance. Let's get ready for an exciting journey into the fascinating world of microbes. Tiny creatures that are all around us, some helpful and some, well, tricky. Today, we are going to talk about something super important: antimicrobial resistance, or AMR. Don't worry if it sounds like a big word, we'll break it down for you. AMR happens when the bacteria that live all around us and sometimes even inside us learn clever ways to resist antibiotics, making infections harder to treat. But what if I told you that you can help fight AMR starting from today? Stay tuned and we'll show you how. Before we dive in, here are a few quick instructions to make this session interactive and fun. You'll all stay on mute during the session. This helps us avoid any background noise, but don't worry, you can still participate. The chat box is open and we'd love you to type out your thoughts, ideas, answers there. Keep them coming. We have a lot of fun planned, so a short presentation will walk you through the basics, but it's not all one-sided. We've prepared some engaging poll questions to make sure that you stay involved. And towards the end, you'll get a chance to ask questions to our amazing speakers. So keep your notebooks handy, jot down any questions as we go, and we'll make sure to get you to them. And last, here's the exciting part. We are launching the hashtag WOW2024 contest on our website's Instagram page. WOW stands for World Antibiotic Awareness Week, and we want to see your creative ideas. The best entries will get a shout out on the Young Environmentalist website. So stick around for all the details. Right? Now, first up, we have Amit, the director of the Sustainable Food Systems Program at the Center for Science and Environment, New Delhi. Amit has been working tirelessly to make our food and environment safer, from fighting antibiotics in dairy and poultry farms to taking on big companies selling unhealthy junk food to kids. Amit is passionate about protecting our health and environment. He's also worked to ensure that we are not exposed to hazardous pesticides and is now focusing on sustainable agriculture. And when he's not busy with all of this, he loves to watch movies, listen to music, do yoga, and play with his daughter. These days, he's creating wonderful stories for her. So maybe we'll get to hear a few of his storytelling ideas today. And along with him, we have Dr. Rajeshwari Sinha, who leads the AMR vertical and uh, is a very vital member of the food systems unit. She's a rock star in the AMR world, combining her love for science and policy to make a real difference in how the world tackles antibiotic resistance. She works with experts around the globe to drive in positive change and frequently writes in newspapers and magazines. Rajeshwari holds a doctor's degree in microbial biochemistry from the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and is an alumna of the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. And when she is not busy saving the world from AMR, she loves to travel and sing. So buckle up, everyone. It's time to explore, learn, and have fun. Over to you, Amit.
Okay, thank you so very much, Anubhuti. Uh, I think my young friends are very, very excited. So are we. Uh, this is about bugs and bugbears, but not at all about bed bugs and not at all about bears. But just to let you know, a couple of days ago, my daughter, 7-year-old Sitara, she asked me, Papa, COVID had virus. Computer had virus. You teach bacteria. Does computer also have a bacteria? I said, no, computer doesn't have a bacteria. Computer has bugs, but also virus, but not bacteria. So I think that joke went well. You can laugh. You can say thumbs up if that works well. If it doesn't work, no problem at all. Let me just go ahead. So bacteria, I'm sure, let me just open my presentation with you kids. Um, is it opening now? Is it fine? My colleagues, friends can see it?
Yes. Amit,
Okay,
it's clearly visible. You can put it on full screen mode.
wonderful. Okay then. So bacteria, I know you all must have been told by your parents and teachers, हैंड वॉश करो, खाना ठीक से खाओ, बाहर हाथ धो के खाओ, फ्रेश खाना खाओ, खराब खाना नहीं खाओ, all because of bacteria. And I also know that sometimes children they have to take antibiotics. They are told by their doctors, you take them, and they know about antibiotics also. But interestingly, not all things about bacteria and antibiotics are negative. There are some good things as well. So as we move ahead today, we just thought, me and my colleague Rajeshwari, we just thought we should also give you a good side of the bacteria. So I will start with that. So bacteria has a big role in evolution as well as sustenance of life on Earth. Actually, only very few bacteria are harmful, and these are called pathogenic bacteria. But by and large, there are many bacteria, as you will know in the next subsequent slides, which are very, very useful to us. So let's take a look at this slide. This is called the tree of life slide. Basically, it tells you, I'm sure evolution you must have studied in your classes. It basically tells us if we divide or try and understand the entire life form in three broad areas, then you would basically get to see that this is about bacteria or about eukaryotes. Maybe some of you would know who are good in biology. And the third category is archaea. That's called the tree of life. So clearly, archaea and bacteria are prokaryotes. And you will see in the next slide what do prokaryotes mean. But just to let you know, what is most important in this slide is bacteria are one of the earliest forms of life on Earth. And they came into being, if I may say, 3.5 billion years ago. Any guesses how many zeros in billion? Let me tell you, 9 zeros. So 3.5, you put 9 zeros, and that is what is how old bacteria is, right? But then you see, when did our Earth came up or the solar system came up? 4 or 4.5 billion years ago. And when did universe came up? After the Big Bang thing, 14 billion years ago. So you can clearly see bacteria is very, very old, perhaps one of the earliest forms of life on Earth. And that's what I'm trying to tell you today. That's very important to know. Universe happened, Earth happened, bacteria happened. So some of you, your friends have raised hands. Don't worry, we will come to the questions later on. Right now, you can put down your real hand as well as the virtual hand. Don't worry. We'll have a question Q&A session subsequently. Let me just move to the next slide. Okay, don't worry about this technical stuff. Just to give you a sense, what are prokaryotes and eukaryote cells? One major difference. See this on the left side, left bottom side of your slide. This is bacteria. The top left side is an animal cell, and the top right side is, you can see, is a plant cell. Both animal cell and plant cell are eukaryotes, and eukaryotes are like evolved cells. They have nucleus, they have organelles, they have good cell walls. And bacteria, you can see, is not very evolved. The internal organs, organelles, and the nucleus you can see within the bacteria is not as distinct. Now you can see, what does a pro mean? Pro means before. Carry-on means nucleus. So before the nucleus, those are called prokaryotes. And bacteria are unicellular organisms. We all know that. So when did and who actually could see them in the lab first? So it was first recognized, let's say about, how would you say this, 450 years ago in 1677 by a Dutch scientist called Antoine van Leeuwenhoek. And at that time, you can imagine they were all simple microscopes. They were not very high-end sophisticated electron microscopes, but he recognized it. And why he called it bacterion? Because in Greek, bacterion meant cane. And the first bacteria that he saw was actually a rod shape. So, and then you see what is a eukaryote? So, U means true or good, karyon means kernel or nucleus, which means the eukaryote cells have good nucleus, true nucleus. And plant cells, animal cells, and fungus, they all have eukaryote cells. Bacteria, on the other hand, is a prokaryote. Okay, so what is important here to note is that the oxygen that we breathe has actually come to us, has actually been a gift of bacteria. I think some of you would know about this from your classes, but not many. And there were these cyanobacteria, the early bacteria who were also called ancient photosynthetic bacteria. They, during the process of photosynthesis, as you can see, when you use water and carbon dioxide as a byproduct, oxygen is released. So in the oceans, with the help of sunlight, water and carbon dioxide, cyanobacteria, about 2.4 to 2.1 billion years ago, they started producing a lot of oxygen. And that's where the oxygen that we have in our atmosphere, which now is about 20%, uh, 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 that's where it started to happen. I mean, the atmospheric concentration of oxygen actually increased. Oxygen replaced methane because before that there was methane in the atmosphere. So what did it do to the Earth? Because oxygen came into the atmosphere, Earth's atmosphere changed, Earth's chemistry changed. A lot of changes happened. All those aerobic bacteria or aerobic life forms which use oxygen, they actually thrived better. And this entire event is called the Great Oxidation Event. And now we have 20% of oxygen that we breathe. And just to also let you know, a couple of years ago, there was this new age bacteria called Prochlorococcus. They were found in the oceans, and it was estimated that 20% of the oxygen that we now breathe actually comes from Prochlorococcus. So what I'm trying to say here, young friends, the role of bacteria in giving us oxygen to the earth, oxygen to the atmosphere, and therefore helping life form on this planet. Let me move to next slide. Now they have given us oxygen, but they have also helped cells produce energy, and they have also helped plants produce food. Now, how does that happen? There is this theory called endosymbiotic theory, which basically said earlier forms of cells were proto-eukaryote. What happened? They engulfed some of the aerobic bacteria. So aerobic bacteria is the one which uses oxygen, right? They can flourish to produce energy, survive. They engulfed some of the bacteria, and that ultimately became the mitochondria of the animal cells. So all the cells, human cells that we have, all the cells that you have a mitochondria. The mitochondria, which helps in cell respiration, is not something else other than bacteria. It's an ancient aerobic bacteria that helped human cells or animal cells breathe. So they created oxygen and they entered into us, and then they helped us breathe, use the oxygen to do what? To basically produce energy. Now, the second endosymbiotic event also happened. After the mitochondria entered into animal cell, one more kind of cyanobacteria, as I said, the previous, which was actually producing food through photosynthesis. Now this animal cell engulfed that also, and which became chloroplasts. And that is what a plant cell now is. All the food that is prepared through photosynthesis in a plant cell is actually a chloroplast. So now you can imagine bacteria produce oxygen, it produced food, and it then also helped us produce energy from that food. And the science has very clearly established that mitochondria and chloroplasts both have a separate DNA within the cell. And that DNA is similar to the DNA of the bacteria. So that is very, very interesting. So how does this work? The food and energy cycle, you can see chloroplast, carbon dioxide plus water plus light energy makes it sugar and oxygen. So that happens in plants. All the plant cells have that. That food using the oxygen in the animal cells in all of us creates energy. That's the food and energy cycle. And in both cases, who has helped us? It's the bacteria, which was formed about 3 to 3.5 billion years ago. Very interesting. So let's just try and understand shapes of bacteria. Cocci means round. If you have single round-shaped bacteria, it is called coccus. If you have two round-shaped bacteria, it is called diplococci. You have four, it is called tetrad. You have eight, it is called sarcina. And you have a linear chain arrangement, it is called streptococci. Like that. If you have a rod-shaped bacteria, it is called bacilli. Again, the same thing, bacillus, diplobacilli. There are other shapes as well. Vibrio, if you have a comma-shaped bacteria, if you have a spiral bacteria, it is called spirochete. So on the basis of shape and their arrangement, this is the classification in cocci, bacilli, and others. But then you would see there are some more kinds of classification. For example, based on the cell wall structure, gram positive or gram negative. So there's this dye. If you put it on bacteria, if it remains purple, those bacteria are called gram-positive bacteria. If it remains pink, those are called gram-negative. Then some bacteria live in oxygen. They require oxygen for survival. Those are called aerobic bacteria. The others do not require oxygen. Those are called anaerobic. Some bacteria, on the basis of nutrition, some bacteria, they make their own food. For example, the cyanobacteria, which actually entered into the plant cells. Those are called autotrophs. Some bacteria are called heterotrophs, who do not produce their own food, depend on food from others. So that's how bacteria are classified. So some interesting facts about bacteria. Almost everywhere you have bacteria. Depths of the ocean, summit of mountains, volcanoes, snow, soil, rocks, radioactive spaces, but you do not have them where? As I said in the beginning, you do not have them on your computers. In your computers, you may have it on your computers, but in your computers, you only have viruses and not bacteria. Now, about 40 million bacterial cells are there in 1 gram of soil. Imagine. And their average size is about 10 to 100 times larger than viruses. A milliliter of fresh water usually has 1 million bacterial cells. And now you have actually figured out in 2016, in Japan, there's a plastic-eating bacteria is also identified. And there are about 5 non-nillion bacteria in the Earth's ecosystem. That's what the estimate is. And non-nillion is a very large number. And it is typically 10 raised to the power of 30. That's what is called as non-nillion, right? And what is most interesting is that human body contains about 10 times more bacterial cells than human cells. So we have about 10 raised to the power 13 human cells, but we have about 10 raised to the power 14 bacterial cells. And they can double their population in 20 minutes, in as little as 20 minutes. And typically you can find them in our mouth, in our airways, nose, esophagus, respiratory pathways, reproductive and urinary tracts, right? So these are some of the very important points about bacteria. Very interesting. So what do they do? What's their role? And in the current lives, you know that? Apart from causing disease and infection, they help us treat waste, breakdown of organic waste, for example. They also convert, in the biogas plants, they convert sludge into energy. They actually provide nitrogen to the plants. There are some nitrogen fixing bacteria. Now, what they do is they pick up oxygen from the atmosphere, do some magic, and make the nitrogen available to the plants. That nitrogen enters into the fruits and leaves which we eat. And that helps us. Nitrogen is a very important ingredient for us, nutrient for us. Then there are some other kind of bacteria called denitrifying bacteria. So if let's say you have a crop residue or an organic waste, if it has to decompose, so once it gets decomposed and bacteria helps this, so nitrogen from that actually is returned back to the atmosphere. So this is called nitrogen cycle. Nutrient absorption is another thing that they help. Our gut, as I said, about there are about so many gut bacteria. About 1.5 to 2 kilograms of weight is what is of can be the weight of the bacteria that is present in any human or animal gut. Imagine there are like trillions of bacteria there in our gut, and they help us in nutrient absorption, and they also help us to protect against harmful bacteria. So good bacteria kills the bad bacteria. How do they do that? What you eat, if good bacteria eats it, there's no food left for the bad bacteria. So bad bacteria dies, good bacteria survives. And the good bacteria also produces vitamins, several vitamins. Vitamin B1, it's called thiamine. Vitamin B9, it's called folate. Vitamin K, vitamin B12, very important bacteria. And some of these very important vitamins, and some of these are not really adequately produced by our body. So if we do not have those bacteria in our gut, we can have vitamin deficiencies, and this is something that typically we do not get to know, right? So what else? They help cows also digest their all the crops, all the crop residue, all the fodder that they eat, so that they can now produce energy. Bacteria is also used in food industry. Why food industry? Only at our homes. Lactobacillus in curd, right? If you add it in milk, it becomes curd, and that's a very, very good. If you eat good bacteria, you eat fermented foods, a lot of bacteria has a role there, and that is very, very important for our gut and health. So let me come to the last slide, which I would be talking about. I've just given you a few examples: beneficial bacteria, harmful bacteria. Bifidobacteria, E. coli, Escherichia coli, Lactobacilli. I mean, you would see a lot of these are present in our gut or otherwise, but the harmful bacteria typically comes from outside. Food poisoning, for example, if we eat a contaminated food, Campylobacter can come in, Clostridium difficile can also come in, and Enterococcus faecalis. These are different bacteria. But this is just about gut. There are also other kinds of bacteria which can enter through our urinary tract or the respiratory tract or the nasal passages. So there are good bacteria, there are bad bacteria, but I just wanted to tell you that in this world, there are millions of bacteria and only few are bad bacteria. So a lot of bacteria are good bacteria. So with that, I think I should stop, and I would request my colleague, my friend Rajeshwari, to tell you more interesting things about uh, antibiotics and resistance. So I hope you enjoyed it. My best wishes. But I will come back again.
Okay,
Thank you.
so thank you, Amit, and thank you first to Anubhuti for that wonderful, exciting introduction for both of us. Thank you, Amit, for setting the context. And before I start, I just have to say, looking at you, I'm just reminded of my little 2.5-year-old daughter who's been I'm missing her throughout the day, and you guys remind me of her, and it's really a very nice feeling to be with you all. So, like Amit has been speaking about good bacteria so long, I am here to tell you about the bad bacteria. Those that cause cold and cough to you, and you can't go to school, and then you think, when can I go back to school? So, maybe those we'll spend a couple of minutes. But let's first the first part of what we will talk is we will try and see about antibiotics. These are known as miracle drugs. I'm sure you may have heard about them. If not, it's okay. From today you will hear about them. They're also called magic bullets. And before we start, I would like to let me make it full screen first. Just a moment.
Rajeshwari, could you please full screen your PPT?
Yeah, I will do that. Is it fine?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And before we start, let us see how many of you know about what antibiotics are. If you've been listening to Amit carefully, this poll is very easy, very, very easy to crack. All right. So what will happen is I'll read this question, and then you will have a quick Zoom poll coming up just to shake you up a little bit and get you all set for the next roller coaster 20 minutes. So the question goes, antibiotics are medicines that can kill or stop the growth of, and you have four options: A, fungus, B, virus, C, parasites, and D, bacteria. So can we have the poll, please? Yes, and I'll request all of you to please put in your answers. And we have 10 seconds.
Friends, please choose all your answers from the poll. Aryan, Kavya, please use the poll to answer your question.
And we'll close it in another 5 seconds. So we have only 36 out of 88 answering. We can wait a little bit long. People are coming up with their answers. Yes. Okay, another 5 seconds. So you can please put in your answers. Okay, so we have, can we share the results with our dear young wizards here? Okay, if you can see the answers, we have a very intelligent group of young wizards here. So 64% of you participated, and I am very happy to see that you all have cracked the right answer. Yes, the answer is bacteria. So out of 64% of this group who have participated, 58 kids have registered their votes. Most of you have said the answer is bacteria. For those who have said fungus, virus, and parasites, here are the slides that is going to let you know why the correct answer is bacteria. So moving to the next slide. So what are antibiotics? Anti means against, and biotics is coming from a Greek word which is called concerning life. So it means anything that is against life. And here in this case, these are substances that can kill bacteria or help treat the disease that is caused by them. And do you know who discovered antibiotics for the first time? It was Sir Alexander Fleming. He was a British scientist and he is known as the father of antibiotics. And these are chemicals which are produced naturally by fungus and some bacteria. And when we produce them on a mass scale so that it is able to come to your houses in little strips when you get sick, so on a mass scale, they are produced by fermentation. They can be categorized under different classes and their action also can be of different types. They can be bacteriostatic, which means that the bacteria does not multiply. They can be bactericidal, which means you kill the bacteria at one go. You can have broad spectrum antibiotics, which means one antibiotic can kill many bacteria. And you can also have narrow spectrum antibiotics, which is against few bacteria. A little bit of history of how antibiotics got discovered. You know, when Fleming was working in one of his labs in St. Mary's Hospital in London, one fine day he suddenly saw that in a petri plate, this is a plate, this is the original picture, and you know, scientists, when you grow up to become scientists, you will see that there are petri plates where people grow bacteria for research in labs. So one of his plates he saw that he was growing some bacteria called Staphylococcus aureus. And these did not grow around this big blob, which is another bacteria called another fungus called penicillin. This one was a fungus and this one was a bacteria. And what he interpreted is this fungus must be secreting something because of which the bacteria did not get the courage to grow around this fungus. What he worked around is he isolated this fungus and he named that product called penicillin. So penicillin is often attributed to be the first antibiotic produced and it was used widely during World War II. I hope you found this little bit of history interesting. And now let's come to talk to you about what is antimicrobial resistance, or let's make it more specific about what is antibiotic resistance. It is today a very important health emergency, but we can prevent this, and you young kids have a lot of role to play. But again, just to let you know, we are going to do a bit of polls. So here, if you listen to me carefully, we will have 4 questions back to back, and we will go one by one. So I will read the question, you can put in the poll, and then I'll read the second question, you do the polls, and once we have all the polls coming in, and then we can look at the results. All right. So here we have the next question. Did you know that several antibiotics are failing to treat even common infections of today? 2 options. A is yes and B is no. Can we have the poll, please? Okay, so we have 10 to 15 seconds. I would request you to answer the first one right now. All of you, we urge you to participate. There are 91 of you here. Come on. So we'll wait for some time and see see how much you can, put in your answers here. Okay, so if you are okay with the first question, you can also put in later on. I will try to move to the next question and let me read it for you. Many of you are already answering in parallel. That's what I call you. You all are young wizards. You don't wait. Okay, that's very exciting to see. Okay, so the next question is, did you know that AMR means antimicrobial resistance and is about resistance in microbes like fungus, bacteria, parasites, and virus against these drugs that kill or inhibit them? Again, two options, A or B, which is A is yes and B is no. So we have 15 seconds for you to cast your answers for the second question. So we'll wait and then we'll move to the next one. Okay, I see some friends have raised their hands, but we can come back to you in the Q&A session. Let me also I think we can move to the next question. So the next question for you, children, is superbugs. Do you know what superbugs? Okay, we're going to talk to you about it today. These are multi-resistant bacteria against which now you have to fill up. So the answers are A, all antibiotics work. B, most antibiotics, sorry, I'm just moving my slides. Just a minute. Most antibiotics work. C, hardly any antibiotics work. And D is don't know. Again, some time for you to put in your answers. So we have 63% participation. A lot of you can still pitch in. You can also go to the questions we have already done. This is a poll which is happening together. And yes, so we are going to see some trends coming up. Okay, now let me move to the next question. The next question is, antibiotic resistance is known as a silent pandemic because, and then again you have four options. Number one is, it is a pandemic but a harmless one. Number two, it can harm but not at the scale of a pandemic. Number three, it is very harmful on ongoing pandemic that remains unnoticed. And it is like COVID, but it is beyond COVID. So we just went through COVID, and I'm sure you are going to able to be cracking this out. Okay, some about 10 to 15 seconds for you to fill this up. Very good. We are nearing 75% participation. That's really good. To the remaining kids who have not yet filled in all the questions, I would say, come on, give it a shot. So we will wait for another 10 seconds and then we'll close all the polls, right? I hope you've been able to cast your answers. So we have about 80% participation. Yeah. Okay. So the poll is closed now, and can we share the answers? Can we share the results? Right. Can I bring in my colleague Amit? Amit, would you want to pitch in and discuss the answers for this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So on question number one, you all should give yourself a huge round of applause. Out of 74 kids, friends who responded, 64 said yes, they gave the correct answer. And that's a very good news. Only 10 did not knew, but that's okay. They said no. But for them, I just wanted to tell you, actually, antibiotics are failing. They are becoming ineffective, not only in treating common infections, but then also they are failing in hospitals to treat even difficult infections, right? So, but this is good. So, in a way, I don't think we have much to teach to this already enlightened set of bunch of young environmentalists. They know this. They really, really know this. So give yourself a good round of applause. Question number 2. I think here some of you got confused. एंटीमाइक्रोबियल रेजिस्टेंस क्या है, बैक्टीरिया को करता है, फंगस को करता है, कुछ ज्यादा नहीं समझ आया, बट स्टिल it still is a very encouraging number. So 56 of you responded and 41 said yes, that they knew it. Which basically means only 27%, only 15 of you said that they do not know it. But here's a catch here. We will never be able to figure out that when you said yes, you actually knew it. So that is something that you will have to see for yourself. Question number 3. Quite a lot of you actually got it wrong. Superbugs are not they're not supermen or superwomen. They are superbugs. So antibiotics do not work. Hardly any antibiotics work. That's the right answer. So 53 friends responded to that. And 38%, which means 20 of them actually got it right. The remaining, let's say about 50% actually said most antibiotics work, and that's not true. Bugs means the bacteria has actually got superpowers. Antibiotics can now not kill them. So therefore, which means you will have to do something else. Antibiotics will not work with them. So, but be careful, superbugs. You have to be careful so that you anybody never ends up getting infected by a superbug. That's a very, very important lesson here. Number 4, antibiotic resistance is known as a silent pandemic. Now, interestingly, 60% out of the 40 who responded said yes, it is very harmful. They gave the correct answer, which is very encouraging. It is a silent pandemic, yes, but very harmful. And just to let you know, it is not like COVID. COVID happened for a few years. Antibiotic resistance is happening all across perpetually for so many years and will continue to happen if we do not stop it or contain it. But what is a pandemic, by the way? Anybody knows? But let me actually say it for you. The definition of a pandemic means any particular disease or infection, if it is happening in so many countries of the world, only then a particular disease or an infection is called a pandemic. So clearly what this tells us is that antibiotics becoming ineffective is not just an Indian phenomenon, it's a global phenomenon. So, but important thing here is if I conserve antibiotics here, it will help everywhere. So every country, each one of us, each household, each person has to keep that in mind that antibiotics have to be conserved, antibiotic resistance has to be prevented. So I think we can stop here. We can stop showing the poll results, Sukanya, and we move next. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll just take it up from there just to let you know that Alexander Fleming, who discovered antibiotics, in his Nobel lecture, he got the Nobel Prize in 1945, had already warned about this concern that the penicillin that I am discovering today is one day going to become resistant if you have not used it appropriately. So his Nobel lecture already has this concern. But just to let you know how antibiotic resistance happens, so if you have a couple of bacteria where some are good bacteria and some are bad bacteria, or within this bad bacteria population, there are few which are antibiotic resistant ones. When you take an antibiotic, the less resistant ones will die out, and the more resistant ones will continue to survive, as you can see, and then they will multiply, giving you a larger population of drug-resistant bacteria or even superbugs. Moving forward, what is going to happen is eventually your antibiotics are going to become ineffective. And this complex slide, I don't mean to make it complicated for you, but just to let you know that antibiotic resistance is a mechanism that can also be transferred genetically from one bacteria to another. That is what it is about. And when you grow up more, you're going to read all this in detail, the process of transformation, conjugation, and transduction. Now, moving to my next slide, just to let you know, why are you or I at risk? It is because we are at a risk of being exposed not just to resistant bacteria, but also antibiotic residues. Because it is because of human consumption of antibiotics, it is because of use of antibiotics in food producing animals like poultry, aquaculture, dairy, and slaughterhouses and processing units. It is also because antibiotics are used in hospitals and veterinary hospitals and in your doctor's clinics. And also it's because antibiotics are manufactured somewhere. So waste from all of this will also add to antibiotics in the environment. So this is something which is everywhere, and one cannot escape from it. And the chances of our exposure, not just from our homes, but also from the environment, is quite high. Okay, now having said this, I want to bring back to you into another poll. This is a single question, and we'll do it very quickly. Did you know that new antibiotics are not getting developed easily, and future generations can face a situation similar to pre-antibiotic era when there were no antibiotics? Can we have the poll, please? There are two options as answers. Option A is yes, and option B is no. And we'll quickly spend 10 to 15 seconds, and I would request all of you to buck up. So what is pre-antibiotic era? You must have guessed it by now. It means that an era when there was no antibiotics and infections were really, really difficult to treat. Right? Yeah, we'll wait for 5 seconds, and I think people are coming up with answers. The gizmos are coming up with answers. 58% have responded. Come on. Okay. Can we have all of you pitch in? All right, we are going to close it in another 5 seconds. Let's make it 70% of people coming in to answer. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so we can share the results. So yes, all intelligent people, yes, you do know that antibiotics are not getting developed easily. And I don't know how you know this, but it's really, really encouraging. But just to let you know, my next slide is a bit complex, but not very complex. But just to let you know, this is a timeline that I'm trying to show you. The part on top of the timeline tells you when what antibiotics came into the market, and then the part below the timeline, which is the red strip, it tells you that as and when these antibiotics came into the market, in a few years they started becoming resistant. I can give you one example. Just look at sulfonamides, which came out in 1935. It started becoming ineffective in about 1942. So it just were effective for a span of 5 to 7 years. And this is happening throughout, right? And to let you know, we at CSE did a quick analysis last year where we saw that pharmaceutical companies are also not interested in making antibiotics. Their interest is in making different kinds of drugs, like in cancer, like inflammation, neurology, other kinds of diseases. Our analysis showed for 15 companies, when we assessed, we saw that out of 1,000 molecules that these companies were making in total, we will be surprised, only 13 were antibiotics, and only 4 companies were making them. So this diagram in CSE, we call, very funnily, we call it as a hollow pipeline, which means the pipeline is really hollow when it comes in terms of antibiotics. Now let's quickly get back to a bit of polls again, and the answer to partly a part of these polls were hidden in one of my previous slides. So this is again a trick question for you. Back to back 3 questions coming, back to back 4 questions coming actually, and you can answer all together like you did, you intelligent block of kids, or you can wait for me to read and then you answer. So let's have the poll, and as I read the question. The first question is, did you know that antibiotics are used in chicken feed or for faster weight gain by chickens? There are 2 options, yes and no. We'll wait for 10 seconds, or rather maybe 15 seconds, and allow you to answer. And in the meantime, I will also read for you the second question. Did you know that milk eggs, meat, and fish, all what your mummy papa tells you ki khao khao sehat banega, all of that can have antibiotic residues as well. I tell my little daughter to have eggs, she doesn't like to have it, but I'm sure your parents must be telling you. Okay, so okay, 43% participation so far. Come on, I'm urging all of you to give it a shot. Let me read the next question. Did you know that antibiotics are used in growing crops? Two options, yes and no. My God, Amit, do you see the answers? Do you see? They know it. They really know it. All you intelligent people. Okay. The next question for you is, did you know that antibiotics can be conserved by minimizing their misuse and overuse? Again, two options, yes and no. So, four questions for you. 65% of you have participated, about 100 kids we have here, and I'm really hoping all of you come up. So, another 10 seconds, and then we'll close the poll. Let's make it 80% of you answering, right? Okay. Okay, 67 dear children have answered. Some more if you want, or we'll close the poll in. Okay, the poll is closed. Right, so we can share the results. And again, Amit, would you like to pitch in?
Well, this is very clear, very, very clear. This bunch of kids, these are smart people. They knew that antibiotics are misused in chicken. 85% have said yes. They knew that these are also used. There could be residues. If they are used, then there could be residues in the eggs, meat, and fish. Again, 88% have said yes. They also know that it is used in crops, but yes, in crops, some 25% kids were actually surprised. They didn't really know about it. Nevertheless, but interestingly, 90%, about 90% of the kids said have believed that these should be conserved. We should not misuse them. Wonderful. So again, a big round of applause, all of you. Yeah, we are so happy. This is such a aware bunch of kids. Thank you so very much.
Yes, Tom Thin, I can see Tom Thin clapping. I'm not able to see all the screens, but Tom Thin, good. Okay, just to let you know, you have all cracked the answers, but I have one picture to show you here. This is how, food animal production happens: meat from chickens, milk from dairy animals, and fish. So they are grown intensively, and if you grow them so close to each other, they become more and more infection prone, and disease can spread from one to another. So even in these kind of food production settings, antibiotic use happens, and this can also lead to antibiotic resistance, in addition to what Amit said about crops. Okay, I think we are mostly done. Just to let you know that, okay, Amit has to say something.
Just one message. We yes, if there are antibiotics in use in meat, fish, dairy, poultry, that does not mean that we are saying that you should not eat those. We're not saying that. Just make sure to search out for good food which you think or your papas and mamas think who are not using such antibiotics or chemicals, right? We're not saying you should eat all kinds of nutritious food. We need eggs, we need milk, we need all kind of good food to eat and nutritious food to make us strong.
Okay, and just to end, we want to say that there is a color to mark awareness for this issue of antimicrobial resistance, and this color is blue. You can see all our backgrounds are blue. We are wearing blue, and many of you are wearing blue as well. Today in CSE, all of our colleagues wore blue, and this is a photo we had from our office. So we are all turning up blue in order to stand up in solidarity for the AMR issue. I will now thank you, and I'll now pass it on to my colleague Anubhuti.
Hi, friends. Let's have a short question and answer session. Amit, Rajeshwari, thank you so much for this very informative and engaging session. A big round of applause to all our audience and to you as well. Children have been raising their hands for quite a while and they have the questions lined up. So, first, Advait, please Please raise your question. You had your hand raised up for quite a while. Do introduce yourself first. Tell us which class you study, where are you from, and then ask your question. Advait, are you there?
Ma'am,
Yeah, hi.
my name is Edwith Hari. I study in Cambridge School. I'm in fifth class.
Okay, great.
There was like a big number of like bacteria, right? 15 million or something.
Yes.
So there was in the bracket there was like 50 times 10. No, 50 to the power of 10. Does that mean 50 times 50 times 50 times 50 10 times?
I think I should pass this question to my senior colleague Amit, who would handle this very well.
This means nonillion means 10 to the power of 30, which means 10 multiplied by 30, multiplied by 10, 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 up to 30 times. So, and then you multiply it with 5. So it's a big number. I'm sorry, it's a big number, very difficult to understand. That many bacteria we have, that's an estimate. Nobody has gone them counting. You can't count them.
All right. Next question. Manasvi Chauhan. Manasvi, you have raised your hand. Please tell us which school you're from, which class, and go ahead.
So, ma'am, I'm from Cambridge School. I
Great.
study in class 4th C.
All right.
And currently, I'm in New Delhi.
All right. What's your question?
So, my question is, there must be something that causes the bacteria to become bad, right? Or good?
Right. So, Amit, Rajeshwari,
Rajeshwari will answer that.
Okay. So I think I would like to say that no bacteria is, when a bacteria is produced, it's not that I am producing a bad bacteria or a good bacteria. It's about how a bacteria evolves itself to face its own situation. For example, if you are giving an antibiotic to a bacteria, just imagine the antibiotic is like something which is coming to kill the bacteria. So the bacteria is evolving in a way that it is able to resist that action of the antibiotic. Similar to when we have, for example, we have thieves in our house, we call the police or we make our house strongly gated or put chains so that the thief cannot enter. Similarly, the bacteria will also try and put gates around it so that the antibiotic cannot enter and kill it. It's its defense mechanism. We may be calling it bad bacteria because it is because of so much of use that now we have a lot of bacteria population becoming like that, and when they infect us we are not able to handle it. But I would say that it's a natural process of the bacteria to be able to defend and resist itself against external processes. That's how I would answer it. I just hope, Manashvi, I'm able to answer your question.
Okay, ma'am.
Manasvi, thankfully, is contented with your response, Rajeshwari. So now we shall proceed on to the next question. This is by Pranab Ghosh. Pranab, please introduce yourself. Tell me which class are you in, where do you study, and what is your question? Pranab, we can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah.
I study in Cambridge School.
Wonderful. I think we have
I
question
am
from
in
there.
class 3 and I live in New Delhi.
Okay, great. I think you are among our youngest participants. Please welcome to the session and ask your question.
Ma'am, it is what type of bacteria does yogurt have inside?
All right. So, Amit, would you like to take this question?
It's called lactobacillus bacteria. And And bacillus means, as I said, it's a rod-shaped bacteria. And lacto has come from the fact that it basically survives on the lactose sugar, which is present in the milk. It's called
Wow,
lactobacillus.
cool. I'm sure Pranav would have made a note of this. Uh, Let us take two, three more questions. The next question is by Aryan Banerjee. Aryan, hi. Please introduce yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
My name is Aryan Banerjee and I study in Cambridge School. I'm in 5th standard. So I have a question. Whenever I have an upset stomach, I drink Yakult and after that I don't have an upset stomach.
Hmm.
So what kind of bacteria does Yakult have, and does it, and if there's any healthy bacteria, then is it in other foods also? Is it possible?
Wow, I think our experts would be fascinated with your question. Amit, do you want to take it up?
Okay, I can. So there's a thing called good bacteria. So Yakult, or let's say any other probiotic is something which basically makes sure that bad bacteria is no longer there. So you have good bacteria, and that is why it is said that curd is very good for our stomachs, because curd has that good bacteria which is lactobacillus. So not just and your and that's why you fermented foods like cheese, yogurts are therefore rich in this good bacteria. And the basic logic is when you have good bacteria, more of it in your gut, it basically eats up all the food and nutrients that you are eating. There is no food left for the bad bacteria. The bad bacteria goes down, good bacteria goes up, your tummy is better.
Great. Um, let's move to the next question. Okay, Yaja Tuppal, you have your hand raised for quite a while. Uh, Please introduce yourself and tell us what's your query.
Good morning, sir. My name is Yajatuppal. I am in ninth standard. I am from school Little Flower Public Senior Secondary School, and my question is that I got to know that bacteria are also producing oxygen. So, are there other sources other than trees which produce oxygen?
Amit, we are unable to hear you.
Okay, so as far as I know, oxygen in this earth has largely come from chloroplast, which is in plants, and chloroplast as well as those as well as prochlorococcus, which I mentioned, which produces 20% of the oxygen which is present in sea. So there is a bacteria which can produce oxygen. 2 billion years ago, 2.5 billion years ago, during the great oxidation event, it was cyanobacteria. Now, recently we discovered prochlorococcus, and then, of course, all the plants. So, oxygen coming from, let's say, bacteria, or let's say from plants, in reality is actually coming from the same set of source, a cellular source, which basically is using during the process of photosynthesis, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, using light as energy, it makes food, and in that process releases sugars plus oxygen, and that oxygen goes out in the atmosphere.
Okay. Let us take the last two questions for the day. I can see a lot of excitement. So in case you are unable to ask your question, do feel free to write to our speakers directly. Their email IDs will be available in the upcoming slide. Meanwhile, Shubhangi Ray has raised her hand for quite a while. Hi, Shubhangi. Please tell us which class are you in and school, and go ahead.
So hello, I'm from Mahindra World School in Tamil Nadu, and I'm in class 7 yellow.
Okay.
So my question is, what does bugs and bugbear have to do with what we are discussing right now?
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay. So Rajeshwari, you want to try?
Rajeshwari, we can't
I
hear.
think Anubhuti should try answering this.
All right. So, I have given this interesting twist to the antimicrobial resistance issue, and I have coined this topic as bugs and bugbears. Uh, uh, just to make it interesting for you all and invite you all to our session. Uh, Bugs, as we know, me are a kind of insects. However, we here meant to indicate the world of microbes, and bugbears is a fun twist to it.
And in the beginning, I said this is not about bed bugs, which are insects, which can be seen by the naked eye. And this is also not about the bears.
Right.
This
Thank
is
you.
about bacteria, which
Anubhuti,
is actually a super bug.
Shubhangi
It
is
can
happy
become a super
with
bug.
the answer.
Thank you, Rajeshwari. All right. Shall we move on and make the announcement for our exciting contest now? Yeah. So, I would first like to thank all of you for being such an amazing audience, and especially to Amit and Rajeshwari for sharing your valuable insights on AMR. You have helped us understand how tiny bugs can become big bugbears and what we can do to fight AMR. And thanks to all you young participants for participating in the Zoom polls. Now let's move on to the launch of the hashtag Wow 2024 Instagram contest on the Young Environmentalist Instagram handle. Uh, Rajeshwari, can you please share the
Yes.
PPT once again and move to this contest slide? All right, here we have it. So here's what you all need to do. Check out the Harry Potter themed poster that we have just posted. You can guess which Harry Potter movie. Can you guess which Harry Potter movie it relates to? I think a lot of you Potter fans can do. Think of a creative subtitle for the poster using what you have learned about AMR today, and drop your answer in the comment section of the post. And the best entries will get a special shout out on the Young Environmentalist website. But wait, there's a lot more. Follow our Instagram handle and stay tuned because 4 more interesting posters will be posted in the coming days, and each with a fun challenge. Right? I hope the contest sounds interesting to you. Therefore, for more amazing contests, masterclasses, events, and our much loved Gober Times magazine, don't forget to subscribe to the Young Environmentalist website. That's it for today. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep fighting for a healthier planet. You can now say your thank yous and goodbyes to our experts, and we will be unmuting all of you.
Ma'am.
Thank you,
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you, ma'am.
everyone. It was
Bye, ma'am.
wonderful talking to all of you.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye. Bye, 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 bye. Ma'am, sirs.
Excuse me, Amit sir.
Ma'am.
Bye, ma'am,
Good
sir.
evening and thank you, ma'am and sir. Ma'am.
All right,
Thank you,
okay.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
All
Excuse
right.
me, ma'am.
Bye, bye.
Session.
Bye.
Excuse
Thank
me,
you,
ma'am.